That is James Mennie. He, of course, is over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, it seems to me today, I was listening to Trudy this morning. We're now talking, of course, in Montreal as we get closer and closer to an election about garbage, or perhaps a lack of interest by the city in picking up garbage. So, I know we hadn't talked about this in a while. So, what do you think?
Aaron, I got to tell you, I'm still trying to collect myself. I just heard Rick Lechner say there's not going to be a Cavendish extension.
Hard to believe, isn't it? Yeah.
Who the hell saw that coming? I swear to God,
Yeah.
Aaron, I thought for sure you're going to have T-shirts made and stuff.
Yeah, knock
and
you right
now,
off your chair, didn't it, Jim?
Stupid city of Montreal, the stupid Cavendish extension. Hey, listen, they can't do an extension. They can't do garbage either. This is the weird thing, man. We're coming up in November. There's going to be a full-blown series of, municipal elections. We're choosing a new administration at City Hall. And you think that, there are going to be like major issues with the capital M and the capital I. And what are we talking about this week? We're talking about garbage pickup. Yeah. Garbage pickup in one particular borough. And you have the administration, the Projet Montréal. You know what? We've heard from the people of the borough, and we have decided, at least in the summer, to have garbage pickup once a week because of the rats. Okay? And then you have, Madame Martinez-Ferrara saying, hey, you stole my idea. And I'm thinking, is this the election campaign for Montreal, or are we busy choosing Hooterville City Council here? Because, no, really.
No, I agree.
I'm kind of joking, but I'm not, because that scares the poop out of me, Aaron. When you have, the major, so-called major parties dealing with an issue, a no-brainer, something that should be left to the administration of the borough, and you've got mayoral candidates talking about this, there's something fundamentally wrong with the perspective of this city. And speaking of perspective, Aaron, because, garbage collection is so difficult, you would think that, because Projet Montréal has been in power for nearly 8 years, that, the whole idea of bicycle lanes and bicycle controls and shutting streets down to cars would be a piece of cake. But no, we have discovered that Projet Montréal is going to stand down for the time being on its extremely controversial double cross to Montrealers about closing Camillien to motorized traffic. Depending on who you listen to, last week, Madame Valérie Plante, the mayor, said it was because they are shutting down
Penfield,
Dr. Penfield, right, for 8 years.
Yeah.
8 years, okay? Which, of course, is just a wink of an eye when you compare to the Cavendish extension. But the fact of the matter is, it's because we can't hold Montrealers hostage, as she said. However, this week, Luc Rabelin, who is the Projet Montréal candidate for mayor, says, no, we have to reprioritize, and we have to look at other things first, and we want to make sure there's public transit available there and this and that. How much you want to bet, Aaron, that Projet Montréal, and we know for a fact that Projet Montréal does, in fact, conduct micro polls. How much do you want to bet they figured out that if they kept this on the plate, they were giving their opponents a lot of ammunition to go after them with on the election campaign, and they would probably end up being cut to pieces unless they stood down on that particular plan. Because remember, with the so-called public consultation, 13,000 people participated in that, and they were, even though they said, no, don't do this, they were ignored. So maybe someone over at Projet Montréal put two and two together and got, for God's sake, stop this right now.
Got them 2 years? Took them 2 years to figure that out, Jim, beyond the public consultation?
No. It took them 2 years. It took them 2 years until they got to an election. Because then It's one thing to talk about dogma when you figure you're running the table, Aaron. But now there's some actual competition coming up here that it looks like we are going to have, for better or for worse, depending on, no matter how trivial some of the topics may be, we're going to have a real election campaign in this town. And clearly, Camillien Eudes, and as I say, the complete double cross, the turnabout that the Plante administration pulled on the people of Montreal was a huge political liability. And it's not something that Monsieur Rabelin wants to go into his campaign wearing around his neck. So that thing is off the table. And I guarantee you that you'll still be hearing about the words Camillien Eudes during perhaps mayoral debates, during the campaign to come. But they had to dump this over the side right quick because it was clear that it was going to be doing them far more harm than any good they would have had from their core support in the Plateau Montreal.
I will say, Jim, call me a cynic. This idea that Dr. Penfield, first Valerie Plante comes out, it's pretty obvious because, that side of the mountain runs there. There's going to be work done. I mean, that's just an easy walk for Luc Rabouin to then say, oh, no, but of course we're going to wait. It's only happening because of what's going on at Dr. Penfield. Am I wrong in assuming that? I mean, that seems pretty obvious.
When has any administration given a damn about coordinating, road work with traffic? So the fact that they're turning around saying, well, we're shutting down Dr. Penfield for 8 years, so we can't have the east-west. Plus, if you look at a map, it's a bit off. They're kind of separated. Is it really going to be that big a piece of chaos, or were they simply looking for a pretext just to get the whole Camillien mess off of their shoulders?
Okay, maybe. Yeah, you're right. It's not exactly right next to it, but it is kind of right next to it. But okay, I'll give them that. I will point out, by the way, the one other thing. You brought up the fact that it's going to be a race municipally, right? At least we have a viable candidate and another party running. You think a third-party candidate has any chance in this?
Depends what he or she has to say. I know that Craig Sauvé of Transition Montréal is already complaining that he has not been allowed to participate in this debate by the Foreign Council of Montreal because, 15%, of the vote or 15% of the occupancy at City Hall. And I think to a certain extent he's right. I think just having a two-headed debate is a bit limiting. But all that said, they're not the only game in town. Other people can have debates as well. We'll see how that's going to fold up. But here's the thing that's really important as far as I'm concerned, is that we don't vote for one person just to get rid of the other person. We've seen far too much of that in this town and in this province for decades. So the fact is, it's not just a matter of the more the merrier. The more ideas, the more hopefully fresh ideas we can have for a city which is in desperate need of them. I think the only people who will benefit from that will be Montrealers and the taxpayers who have to pay for all this stuff anyway. But the bottom line here is, as long as someone is coming across with serious ideas, with a vision, as I say, for Montreal that isn't based on the other person is a jerk and I'm not them, so vote for me. If we can get beyond that, I think we're all going to benefit from it in November.
Let me ask you a question. I'm curious on this. You look back to when Valerie Plante, who basically was an unknown when she ran the first time right against Denis Coderre, and that poster, and people point to that now, that slogan of, she is the best man for the job. That just caught lightning, I think, for a while. Not because of what she was talking about necessarily, but maybe because of what? We were all angry at Denis Coderre.
You hit the nail. You answered. You took the words out of my mouth, Aaron. It's exactly what happened.
So do you not think that could happen again now with people so upset at Valerie Plante?
She's not part of the picture. How upset are they going to be with? If I was Luc Rabouin, I'd be doing exactly what he's doing, which is I want to distance myself from any kind of legacy of the existing Projet Montréal administration. And I want to say, I'm the new guy. It's going to be a new look. It's going to be a new perspective. Look, we know there are more. He's tacitly saying, we know there are more important things in this town than bicycle paths.
Well, he's not. Well, okay. I was going to say he's not really saying that. He's saying we want to focus on public transportation. That's not saying. That's not saying I don't want to do bicycle paths. It's called shifting the focus.
He expanded on that, Aaron. He also said there are priorities. There's homelessness. There's housing. Blah 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 blah. In other words, all the stuff that adult candidates would talk about. Yeah, we're going to focus on that.
All right. I just, I point out to people that, so I have this debate with my wife on a regular basis. She's not the biggest Valerie Plante fan. I said, you know what? She's just really, I hate to say it that way, a figurehead. There's a party behind her with lots of people in it, and this is their plan. It's not her plan, right? So how is it a guy running for the same party, but he's got a pair of pants instead of a dress, and that's going to make a big change in what Projet Montréal really wants to do in this city?
I don't think it's so much a matter of pants or dresses. I think, as I say, the micro-polling, I think is the difference between being elected and not being elected. I think they realize that unless they really change the political product that they're offering to Montrealers, they're going to get cut to pieces on November 2nd.
All right. Real quick, I want you to weigh in on this whole Saclic debate. So whose turn is it today? Sonia Lebel?
Sonia, no, today was the chief of staff for Eric Kerr, but it will be Sonia Lebel. It will be Christiane Dubé, both of whom occupied the role of Treasury Board president, and it could be down the road Francois Legault himself. Aaron, I have never seen a party suddenly get caught up in what is really what appears to be an irreversible self-destruct process. This is not going to end well for the cat. And as I say, I'd be very, very surprised if, frankly, Francois Legault is still involved in politics, certainly, by this time next year.
Jim, as Jed Clampett would say, pitiful, just pitiful.
Just pitiful.
James Mennie, thank you, Jim.
Adam,